As you can see, it didn't take long for the authorities to be hot on my tail, so while I meticulously evade my parole officer, allow me to explain the rules for this run. First and foremost, we must kill all of the remembrance bosses over the course of this run, as each one of them happen to have their own piece of incriminating evidence against me, of which will be used against me during the trial. Secondly, we must not engage in jolly cooperation during the span of this run, as it wouldn't be much of a challenge run if I had my grunts beat the game for me. Besides, the hush money has dried up enough as it is.
Where is the money?
The third rule entails we do not use the power leveling meta. I will get a bit more into what that means later on in this run, so for now, consider this rule to be like USADA watching any Russian athlete's ass cheeks. Finally, and most importantly, the distinctive factor of this run is that we can only use the spinning chain Ash of War to deal damage. Mind you, this is why the video's title is as clickbaity as it is. I mean, just look at this. What the hell else could I call this video? How the heck else could I otherwise convey this disturbing and inappropriate movement? Also, I'm not a sex offender! After violating my parole by stealing this flail earlier, I begin my campaign by violating my parole once again by assaulting some officers and looting their unconscious bodies. From which, I was able to collect a phone, in which I used to call my lawyer, whom then made a couple of arrangements to hook me up with one of the drippiest fits south of the lands between. And so I pulled up to make my first few attempts at this emaciated hobo.
These foolish ambitions to rest. No! Foolish ambitions to rest. Foolish ambitions to rest.
Would you look at that? Who would have thought mastering the motion of the ocean would require such dexterity? And in my mission to acquire it, I now have the opportunity to elaborate on the no power leveling rule. You see this STD dragon over here? Yeah, we're not gonna go near that thing. Know why? Well, because doing so means we're granted the levels pretty much instantaneously, which would be quite unfair to our goat monkey over here, and his acquaintances for that matter. Which is why I hereby vow to not engage in any meta leveling practices in order to power up. This includes not using the infamous Radagon Source Seal for easy levels. I ought to find other solutions to my predicament. Thus, allow me to introduce you all to Bernard. Bernard here just failed the NBA drafts, and so he has come to these lands to vent out his frustrations on none other than myself. But if we abuse his lack of accuracy, we can trick this silly Billy to dunk on his homies instead. Unfortunately, this was only mildly effective, and the necessity for a bit more sustainable methods couldn't be more apparent. So with this in mind, I made my way to the only boss I could possibly defeat. The Crystallian. Crystallians are a strain of gimmick bosses that don't apply to the regular rule sets of most bosses. Specifically, they act like crystals in the sense that they have immense defense towards pretty much everything besides blunt damage types. Luckily for us, this fits right into our predicament, and after a fight that went on for longer than I'd admit, I was finally able to collect the required levels for our dexterity. But for good measure, I also ventured through the Liurnian cliffside cave to collect the winged sword insignia, which is a talisman that makes consecutive attacks deal more damage over time, which fits perfectly with our build. As the final act of preparation, I used the levels collected from this Cleanrot Knight to upgrade my flail to level 6. And after collecting the turtle shell and the turtle talisman, I was finally ready to take on the early game. And well...
The third rule entails we do not use the power leveling meta.
One song worth singing, they may try and tell you, 'cause it hangs them up to see someone like you. But you gotta make your own kind of music, sing your own special song, make your own kind of music, even if nobody else sings along.
So it's safe to say I might have violated my no power leveling rule already, and even if I didn't, I certainly stepped over the line in which the rule was supposed to prevent. Whether or not this is a failure of the run, I leave up to the comment section. But in interest of the trial, I'm just gonna push forward. At this point in time, I've apprehended a bit of the evidence against me. This includes the chat logs I had with Godric and the magazines I left with Renala. Next up, I'm gonna have to dispose of my basement. But in order to make it there, I have to open a path down there, which demands I take care of Radahn, who has the key to my basement. Although I was feeling pretty good about my current circumstance, I took a preventative measure and collected the Dragon Crest Shield +1 talisman for extra survivability. Safe to say, I didn't really need it.
Kill the light, so baby close your eyes. The way you're looking at me, you got me mesmerized. Something I can't escape, feel like I'm lost in space. You got that good loving, girl, if you leave me, I might throw my heart away. You know my heart can't take the breath.
Now that I had made my way through the depths of my bunker, I remember that I left a couple key witnesses in all of this, that being my subconscious and my pet. Now I'll admit these sacrifices were difficult to make, but this was not the time to start growing a heart, as I was faced with the possibility of a life sentence. And I don't know about you, but I still have a self-biography to write before my crimes catch up to me. So I was in a bit of a hurry. My pet was in no such mood, however, and kept stalling me with this silly move here. Safe to say I was starting to lose my patience with this, but after allocating some of my flasks, I was finally able to
Yeah, you know what? My life is fucking miserable. I hate my fucking life. I hate it. Yeah, I stream for my money. I don't like streaming. I don't like any of the games I play. I feel fucking depressed.
There was a misinput, calm down! You calm the fuck down! There was a misinput!
While you was watching that edit, I finished calling my lawyer, and so I've since had that footage deleted, and you know what they say, if it isn't on Instagram, it didn't happen. So I don't want any of you getting cozy in the comment sections, alright? No slanderous behavior, because, you know, I'll sue you for that. Validation only, you know what the rule says, if you don't have anything kind to say, you shouldn't say it at all. Moving on to this glorified dentist, I took him out without much complications, since he just has to emote on you before starting the fight. It gave me a huge window to whittle down his health, which already put him in stage 2, where I just had to wait for this window here, where I was able to finish him off. Now, for the rooftop hop montage. Confronting the golden goose, I wasn't necessarily as confident as I should have been, as this silly goose was immune towards status effects. I've learned from experience that it isn't such a good idea to underestimate him. But I digress. Next on the chopping block, we've got Captain Gut over here. But instead of singing us his shanty, all this lad does is complain about his inferiority complex and resounding mommy issues. Wish I could say I was any different, but to be completely honest with you, I've more in common with this man than I'd like to admit. Hence why I'm confronting him at all, as he's the one who has my search history. Safe to say, I made sure my secrets died with him. As for his own, well, he's like any other Reddit user, airing out their dirty laundry for all to see. Now that my search history was gone, my absent sister decided to show up to hand me a dirty plate. Like I usually do, I completely ignored her chore and made my way to the snowy Alps of Twink Nation, aka Smogtown, aka Whiteout Hideout, aka Yeti Estate, aka Finker Canyon. About now would be a good time for me to emphasize exactly why you've seen practically no optimizing in this run. Specifically, why I've stuck to this weapon all this time. Well, we can then ask the question, what's the scale of the flail? Featuring longtime friend and associate, Kevin Spacey. In the wild and mysterious world of Elden Ring, there are 5 different flails to be found. When we account for our rules, 2 of them are immediately disqualified due to their Ashes of War not fitting the narrative. That just leaves us with 2 options. First up, we have the Night Rider's Flail, found under the night sky in Weeping Peninsula. This bad boy holds onto 3 heads rather than 1, and you know what they say, the better the chain, the sharper its tip. Then we have the good old chain link flail, found from the disgraced corpses of pumpkinheads. This playboy got the grittiest, lengthiest head out of any flail, and hits slaps harder than any western pimp, including P. Diddy himself. Now, why would I not account for these immaculate specimens, huh? Well, because it's not the size of the ship, but the motion of the ocean. Truthfully, it's because they're both a pain in the ass to collect and contribute near to no extra benefit to my current situation, since spinning chain isn't an Ash of War you can pick up, which means you can't infuse it with anything, meaning you can't really take advantage of the scaling they provide. So in all honesty, the flail is already about as good as it gets. Speaking of as good as it gets, let's confront Ed Sheeran over here. Something feels wrong. This run has been nothing but chaos, and chaos is good and all. But this time around it has felt rather aimless. Like a janitor in preschool, I must fix all of my everyday chores before I can have a bite of the sweets. I mean, before clocking out of work. Which includes not taking a shower, avoiding Grabby McGrabby hands over here, doing some ghost busting, before getting an earful from my soon-to-be wife, then finally fetching her ridiculous nail file. Now that I had done all of these redundant tasks, it was finally time to make my way down into the depths of Noxtella. But first, I was gonna have to make it into the Deeproot depths. And in order to make it there, I had to confront the Gargoyle twins. And well, that went about as well as you would expect. See, the issue with this fight is the janky ass hitbox of the gargoyles. You can't completely walk into them, but rather, you're gonna have to hit their kneecaps. For this reason, I wasn't really allowed to lock on if I wanted to do enough damage. But thankfully, I did forget about this tower for a second, which I was able to use to get out of there immediately. And I then picked up my fiance? Anyway, I also put my bitch in his place before taking my flail to Elder Centipede's chin. And yes, that implies the fight was lackluster as hell.
English or Spanish? Whoever moves first is gay.
Baby, you got something in your nose. Sniffing that K, did you feel the hole? Hope you find peace for yourself. New boyfriend ain't gon' fill the void.
Now it was time for me to make my way to the Halig tree and confront my biggest fear. Mature women. The trek involved a lot of running away from my past, confronting some of it, and a lot of animal cruelty, which was followed by a plentiful amount of more running away from my problems, until I finally made it to Melania, the pinnacle of redundancy.
And I have never known defeat.
Okay, so it's obvious I have to make some sort of adjustments to make this fight even remotely feasible. So it's unfortunately time to say goodbye to this immaculate drip and let the meta take its place. With Melania dead and my camera finally disposed of, I had a significant loose end to tie up before moving on to the finale. Which is, of course, my collaborator. Now, Moog proved to be a far more difficult challenge than I had initially expected. At first it all goes to plan, but as he enters his second stage, he's either too aggressive or flies away too often for me to engage the spinning chain. Therefore, I came to the revolutionary solution called fuck that, we ball. The second stage can't be an issue if there is no second stage. So I made a couple of arrangements with my lawyer to fully optimize my build. And with that, I was able to make Moog finish. As in finish him. With that travesty out of the way, I made my way over through the foreskins here and began my grind. As in, grind my forehead through a brick fucking wall! So I tried to change it up a bit with poison, but that proved to be no good. So I stuck back the blood flame blade and got good. Turns out you just have to be a bit more strategic with your placements. Take care of the fatso first, and for God's sake, handle them one at a time so you don't get hunted down like this. Now, as simple as that description might be, do not underestimate the fact that this is going to require a fine amount of the secret ingredient. Secret ingredient in this case being patience. Now that the Ed Gein twins are dead, I can finally move on to the third act of the game. All that remains between me and a lifetime of soapless showers is Malekith, Godfrey, and Pippi Longstrumpa. Malekith was pretty straightforward. All I had to do was wait for some specific attacks, punish them, rinse and repeat. With my newly optimized build, this wasn't posing to be too difficult. With some luck with this stagger here, I was able to put down this glorified rodent pretty quickly. Speaking of rodents...
You come to stand before the Elden Ring, to become Elden Lord. What a sad state of affairs. I commend your spirit, but alas, none shall take the throne.
For any OG viewers of this channel, I recently changed my name from Callenberg to Intelligent Gandalf. And speaking of Gandalf, in this universe his diet does have a substantially larger amount of protein.
Upon my name as Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
I'm living in that 21st century, doing something mean to it. Do it better than anybody you ever seen. Do it. Screams from the haters, got a nice ring to it. I guess every superhero need his theme music. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours. Stop tripping, I'm tripping off the power. The system broken, the school's closed, the prison's open. We ain't got nothing to lose, everybody we rollin'. Everybody we rollin'. With some light-skinned girls and some Kelly Rollins. In this white man world, we the ones chosen. So good night, cool world, I see you in the morning. I see you in the morning. This is way too much, I need a moment. No one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours. Stop tripping, I'm tripping off the power. Till then, that the world's ours.
I've given thee courtesy enough.
Kiss the nail in the whole cast. Tell them Easy said they can kiss my whole ass. More specifically, they can kiss my ass. I'm an ass. You got drugs. Sure-minded stars is Napoleon. My furs is Mongolian. My ice brought the goalies and I embody every characteristic of the egotistic. He knows he's so gifted. I just needed time alone with my own thoughts. Got treasures in my mind, but couldn't open up my own vault. My talent, creativity, purity, and honesty is honestly being crowded by these grown thoughts. Reality is catching up with me, taking my inner child. I'm fighting for custody, but these responsibilities that they entrusted me. As I look down at my diamond and crushed to piece, thinking no one man should have all that power. The clock's ticking, I just count the hours.
Brave, tarnished, thy strength befits a crown.
The checklist is dwindling down by the second, and the trial is beginning to feel a lot more favorable. All the evidence stacked against me has been disposed of, and now the only thing between myself and freedom is the key witness of my vandalism charge. That's right, the prosecution was 100% correct in their assessment. I did collaborate with Merica to destroy the Elden Ring, but now that I am on probation, I don't have access to my hush money anymore. So the only remaining solution to this pickle is gonna be capital murder.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home.
freedom! I finally did it! I finally get my happy ending! I finally get to marry Bella! Order! Order! Order in the courtroom! Today, I, Sir Benedict Sebastian III, and the jury will hereby conduct the trial and sentencing of the defendant, Sir Sil Bosby. To ensure we proceed with this trial in a fair and just manner, the prosecution will now remind us of the accused crimes against the defendant. The defendant will then be granted the opportunity to plead to their innocence before we allow for any sort of rebuttal. Now then, Sir Gigantius Charicus II, please take it away. Thank you, Your Honor. Right away, sir. On behalf of the prosecution and the offended Madam Rani, we henceforth declare the crimes believed to have been committed by the defendant. These crimes consist of sexual deviancy, animal cruelty, assault, collusion with the criminal underworld, vandalism, arson, and fraudulence. However, all of these aforementioned crimes are far and few between. Our primary case is to expose the truth behind the abhorrent crimes committed by America the Eternal and Moog, the Lord of Blood. We have reasons to believe that Sir Sil has colluded with both of these entities, and their untimely deaths are directly linked with Sir Sil himself. Thank you for your attention, Your Honor. Order! Order! Now tell me, how does the defendant plead to this case? Please, if I may, Your Honor, the defendant Sir Sil pleads not guilty. Allow me the opportunity to elaborate. Sure thing. Audience of the courtroom, please engage thy ears to the defendant's lawyer, Scarab Deity. Thank you, Your Honor. I must remind the courtroom of the baseless nature of this trial. We all know Sir Sil to be an influential and wealthy man, but that does not inherently involve him in the abhorrent crimes of which he is accused. This web of fraudulent evidence only provides basis for the degeneracy of the demigods, and although closely associated with Sir Sil at some points in his career, their collaborations indicate no foul play at hand with their respective crimes. This includes the destruction of the Elden Ring and the abduction of Objection! On what basis? Misrepresentative. Preposterous! Order! The objection is granted. Well, you see, Your Honor, the crimes of the demigods should hold no relevance to the trial, unless for the abject purpose of diminishing their reputations in the eyes of the law. Go on. Allow me to put forward some newfound evidence to the jury. You see, Scarab Deity made a mistake to suggest the association between the demigods and the defendant. Not only are the circumstances of their death suspicious beyond belief, objection, speculative, denied, but our new witness testimonies provide sufficient evidence of Sir Sil's schedule during the time of Miquella's disappearance. You see, Sil's previous manager, 40 Sacks, was able to provide us with this schedule, and it clearly shows Sil making very deliberate accommodations for the demigods during their time off duty and during the time frame of their crimes. Objection! Fraudulence! Denied! Go on. Even further so, the security camera footage caught by the Minister of Home Safety Placidusax shows us a clear view of a brawl between the defendant and the late Melania. Not only does this confirm our assault charges, but it also provides ample evidence of Sill's fraudulence on broken promises, as we can clearly see the defendant violating the conditions of his parole. Does the defendant have anything to say in their defense? I can explain. Order in my courtroom! I've heard more than enough. The jury has now found a verdict. We hereby declare the defendant, Sir Sill Bosby, guilty. The sentence will be passed on, a life sentence in the underground shunning grounds. No, please! Away with you, heathen!